In the second part of this series we will begin with VMware vCenter installation. VMware Knowledge Base article has step-by-step guide on how to deploy vCenter server. We are in Station 1, let's build our vCenter server appliance. First we will locate the VCSA ISO which we have downloaded earlier. The ISO needs to be mounted on a Windows, Mac or Linux system to be able to run the UI installer. Once the ISO is mounted, we will explore the folders inside the ISO and locate VCSA UI installer. There are 3 folders available, depending on the machine where the ISO is mounted, go to that folder. Example Win32 for Windows. Inside the Win32 folder there are many files, locate the installer exe and run it. Depending on the type of deployment of VCSA, for example, a new install, upgrade, migrate or restore is available. This is a new deployment, we will select install and follow along the wizard. Wait a second, a deployment target? This is our first deployment and we do not have a ESC host or a vCenter server, right? In most business environment, the vCenter is deployed as a virtual machine inside a physical ESC host. For our deployment to complete, we need a target ESXi host or vCenter server. To conclude, this method is applicable if we already have an existing VMware environment set up or a standalone ESXi host up and running. Let's exit this vCenter server deployment method which is not applicable to our deployment. We are building a home lab and we do not have a physical ESXi host. Let's explore the other folders available inside the VCSA ISO. Okay, we have a OVA file inside the VCSA folder within the ISO. Can we deploy the vCenter server from the OVA? Let's find out. Switch to VMware Workstation, and let's find out if we can import the vCenter server from the OVA file. We will select the OVA file while selecting Open a Virtual Machine option in Workstation. Alright, it appears this might work. Accept the EULA and click Next. We will give a name to our vCenter server and click Next. For our deployment scenario we will select the Tiny vCenter server configuration. This will give us buffer with the physical hardware resource available in our Station 1. For our deployment, Tiny is best fit. Click Next. Type IPv4 for IP family or you can use IPv6, for testing you can use DHCP for networking mode. Set a password in SSO configuration which will be used later to log into vCenter server. Key in the system configuration password, i.e. the root account. Keep the rest with default settings and click Import. The import will take a few minutes to complete. The vCenter will automatically power on. While it is initializing, let's take a look at the VM settings. There are multiple virtual disks configured. Let's switch back to the console, it is still initializing. Great, we have a login prompt. However, this is not what we need. We want to see the nice blue-black vCenter DC UI. The vCenter server is still doing some background work and it will reboot a couple of times. Great, the vCenter server is online and we can see the DCUI. Since we set the networking mode to DHCP and IP is assigned to the VM. Let's open a browser and check if we can access the URL. Notice, we are typing the IP address followed by a port number. Although our vCenter is deployed, we are yet to configure it, give it a suitable name, configure NTP, enable disable shell, etc. Let's key in the root password we set at the time of OVA import. Unable to authenticate user. Did we type the password incorrectly? Well, no. We did type the correct password, but the vCenter is unaware of this account or the password, it seems. Let's try to log into DCUI. Press F2 to log into DCUI. Let's try the root password. Okay, something isn't right with our deployment, it seems. Let's power off this vCenter VM and destroy it to reclaim the disk space on our workstation 1. We will find the solution to this issue in our next video.